Hello, welcome to Lucy's Big Beautiful World of Painting. My name is Lucy Aita. Today I'd like to show you a beginner painting of trees and reflection in water using quite a few colors. I am using 11 by 14 canvas, a wrapped canvas, so it does have a rim on it, and I have already put fast flow white on the canvas to lubricate it so it's ready for me to paint. The colors I'll be using today are titanium white, cadmium red light, Van Dyke brown, burnt sienna, sap green, cadmium yellow, and ultramarine blue. I'm pretty sure I'm going to use all of these, but I may not. But just in case, there they are. I'm going to start out by painting my sky area. So I'll be using a 1-inch scenery brush and going into some cadmium yellow. I'm going to move a little over by my white here. I'm going to take some of my white and I'm going to make a nice yellow color with the white and the yellow. And I'm just tapping it right into my brush. And once I see a nice color that I like, I will start to paint it on. And here we go. So, coming in from the side, I'm just going to rub some of this yellow. My sky is going to have a few different colors in it today. It's going to have a little bit of red, some yellow, some blue. We'll put a simple cloud. So I'm making this a little darker yellow. This way it relates to the camera better, easier for you to see. Okay, so there is a little bit of yellow. And I'm going to come down a little bit more, a little more than halfway. So you can see I'm just rubbing this brush, a nice strong brush. This is a Wilson Bickford scenery brush from his product line. Very nice coarse bristles, very strong brush. There we go. Now, since I put a little bit of yellow in the sky there, I'm going to come back and put a little yellow in the water. Now, some of it may not show, but just in case we want to have that color in the reflection, so I'm putting some in the water also. Okay, so now, without wiping out my brush, going into some cadmium red. Now, of course, yellow and red make orange, so I'll have a little bit of an orange in my sky today. And I can even move a little over. See what I'm doing? I'm just tapping it in. This is mixing, brush mixing, right on my disposable palette. So these disposable palettes are really nice because I just tear off the paper and I have a place to put my thumb so I can hold it. When I do long classes though, I do use the big plastic palette, but for the short demos and little lessons, I use these. Okay, so now I'm going to come in and put in this pretty orangish red color. Again, I'm rubbing it into the canvas. I'm not going so close to that yellow yet. I'm going to blend them together. I'll put my palette back here. Get some of this nice, kind of a peachy red color, which is pretty. Nice warm sky. There we go. I know it looks a little funny now. I will come back and blend the colors together. And again, going to come down, put a little in my water. It looks a little rough. I'll come back and blend. Okay. So, I happen to have a dirty brush already that I used blue before, so I'm just going to use this brush. It's the same brush. I'm coming into some ultramarine blue. Take a little bit of white. I think I want to lighten that down a little bit, making a very nice blue color here. And I'm going to come up in the top. This will help frame the painting a little, putting this blue along the top. And you can see again, I'm just rubbing it in. Rubbing it in, you can hear it going into the tooth of the canvas. And I will come down, put a little blue. And some of these colors, like I said, may not even show once we pull our reflection down. Okay, so now what I will do is I'm going to take a clean brush. I'm going to try a mop brush. And sometimes the mop is too soft to blend, but we're going to give it a shot. I'm going through the lighter colors first, then I can wipe it off and go through the darker colors. I'll set my palette down. Here we go. And I'm just going in a circular motion to try to make these two colors look like one starts and the other begins to fade it out a little. And you can see I'm getting some hairs in my painting. So I'm just going to flick them up, rub it a little on a paper towel I have on the side here, and I will go back. Now, we do want to see the color. Oh, sorry, I have a lot of hair coming out of this brush. We do want to see the color difference, but we don't want that much of a harsh line in between. So I'm just rubbing a little harder and pulling these two together just a little bit more. You can see over here it is blending a little better, so I'm going to pull some of the top paint down into the bottom and the bottom into the top, so I don't have so much of that white line in between. I'm going to have a nice big cloud in there also. Okay, so before I go to blend between my orange color and my blue, I'm going to come down here and blend. Trying to stay kind of away from that blue, because of course blue and yellow make green, and we want to try not to have green in our water. See, I'm getting a little in there, but that's okay, because the reflection is coming right on top. I'll just make sure I blend out this bottom, because that's probably where it's going to show mostly. There we go. You can see I'm just rubbing, blending all these colors together. I could use a harder brush. I'm just taking a little extra time with the softer brush rather than wash out the other brush, but I could go to the harder brush, and that would probably be a little easier, but I like this mop brush, and it's making it look nice and soft. We have some nice color in that water. Okay, I'm going to wipe out the brush just a little bit. It's a nice new brush, so I'm losing quite a bit of hairs. And this is a 1-inch large mop brush. This is one in Wilson Bickford's product line. And Wilson Bickford is a wonderful artist up in the Adirondack Mountains in upstate New York. I'm one of his certified instructors, and he's a pleasure to work with. And he does a lot of wonderful paintings. I teach his methods along with my own. And I love putting them both together and see what I come up with. There we go. So you can see now the sky is blended much nicer now. Nice soft sky. And really all I'm doing, you can see, is I'm just rubbing that paint around. Okay, and like I said, I'm staying away from that yellow, just so we don't end up mixing the paint and getting the green. There we go. So now what I'd like to do is I'm going to put in a nice big cloud, 1 or 2 big clouds. And I'm using a brush in my own product line, and this is called Lucy's Bounce Brush. And it has 3 rows of horsehairs, and it's a great beginner brush for making clouds and trees and for spattering when we do a project spattering paint. And I'm holding the brush with my 2 fingers on the indentations and my thumb resting on the back, which of course had paint on it. So there we go. I'm going to get my palette back again so I have my paint closer to me. And I'm going to tap in some clean white. Now, I'm just loading the brush about 1/4 of an inch or so with the clean white. Okay, you can see the brush is stained a little bit. I used it before and maybe didn't wash it out good enough, but that's okay. This is a very sturdy brush, and I'm not worried about the brush so much. So far, it's been working very well. Here we go. I'm going to make a nice big cloud formation. And I'm going to come back and even get more paint. Nice big formation here. Kind of going straight across. A little more paint. So what's great about this brush is you can do the top of your clouds, and you don't need to come and get another brush to blend out the bottom. All you have to do is, after you use the top 1/4 of the brush, you can flatten the brush on and just rub and you can fade out the bottom of your cloud so it looks like it's anchored to the sky. So we have that one big cloud going across. Just want to add a little more here, maybe have it go up. I like to make a bigger cloud today. Nice big fluffy cloud. Okay, now if you'd like to make your cloud look even fluffier, you can tape the mop brush, and I had a little blue in there, so that's okay, and just going to gently crush it. You can see I'm kind of crushing the top, and then I can go across. Now, I might have pushed a little bit here, and you can see that I'm pulling some of that paint out, and that's okay, because all you have to do is come back, lightly go over, and blend it. There we go. Nice big cloud going right across the sky. If you wanted, you can even come back in. As the clouds get lower in the horizon, they usually look a little smaller, so you can come in and maybe put a few more small ones. Okay, so just again, rubbing. It's okay if it picks up the back color. So put a little smaller one, and maybe a little smaller one in here. I have some trees coming in there, so a lot of them will get covered anyway. So what I'm doing now is just rubbing out the bottom. Again, rubbing out the bottom. That cloud will look more in the distance since it's picking up a bit of that yellow, but it will give a little variation to the painting, something else for the viewer to look at. There we go. Same thing, I can come back with my mop brush, gently pull up, very gently. Fluff those clouds right up. Now it looks like some clouds that are closer to the horizon. Okay, now with these clouds, if I wanted to, I could add a darker color underneath and make them look more like storm clouds or clouds in the fall maybe that are darker. Okay, but for now we'll leave them white. Let's see what happens later. Okay, what I'd like to do now is I would like to start to put in some of my trees along the horizon line, and I'll just check back, and looks like my horizon line is pretty straight. I'm just wiping out my brush that I had that peachy reddish color in, and you can see how much paint comes out just by wiping on a paper towel. And I'd like to start putting in some light trees. So my trees are going to come right across the horizon line. So what I'd like to do for my first set of trees, I'm going to take a little bit of the burnt umber with a little bit of the yellow. I want a lighter color, like a light brown color, almost like a yellow ochre. There we go. I think that's pretty close to yellow ochre actually. All right, and to lighten that up a little, I could just put a little white in there. See what I get. And that might be it. So what I'd like to do is start about here, and I'm going to start tapping in some trees. Now I want you to see, this is the scenery brush again. I am just pressing the brush onto the canvas. Okay, pressing, and you can see that it's actually giving a leaf formation to the trees. Okay. There we go. Nice leaf formation. Now, I'm purposely making the trees not the same height, okay? So I'm going to make the trees come up and down and up and down. Now, without cleaning out my brush, I'll tap into just some burnt sienna, and a little bit of Van Dyke brown. So to keep the color harmony of the painting, I'm mixing the two colors together. I want to darken this up a little now. So I'm going to put a nice tree here, and this one you can see better. Okay, I'm going right through that cloud. I'm going to put another one here. Picking up a little white up there, that's okay. You could just get a little more paint. But you can see that I am just pressing on the brush, and I'm just going to pull these both in and mix these colors a little bit together so it looks a little more natural. Okay, now I'm going to come in just with this real dark brown. And going to put a dark brown here. So this way we have a light source right in the middle of the painting, right here. So the viewer's eye will look towards that light source. So I'm just going to place in a couple of the trees here. Well, actually a few, because that's 3. All right, and I'll put another one on the other side. Just going across the bottom. You can see I'm just pushing that paint, but I'm not overdoing it because I want to see some of this detail that the brush is making. So I have a nice variation of color and detail. Now, without cleaning the brush, I'm going to go right into some sap green. And I'm going to put another color in here. Let's get some sap green. Maybe we'll make that one even taller. So this way they're all different heights, different widths. And that one really shows well, that sap green. So I'll put another one here. So you can put any colors that you like, any colors you see in nature. This could be any time of the year almost. Well, with that light, it could either be the sunlight coming through, or it could be the beginning of fall and some of the trees turning color. So it's always best if you have a picture, you can look at a picture, and that always helps. Okay, so there's some nice trees. What I'd like to do is come in with a palette knife and put a little detail in those trees by just lifting up and scraping some limbs in. So I'm going to go back to that light area, and I'll explain why in a minute. So if I push harder, I'll get a bigger branch or limb. You can see I'm just making them different heights. I want the viewer's eye to come in towards the middle. So I'm going to scrape harder, and I'm going to concentrate and put more in there. Okay? This way it kind of brings the viewer's eye into that center part. And then what I can come in is I can just come in and tap. I'm just tapping a little just to make some of the branches and the limbs look like they're set into the tree rather than sitting on top of the tree. And I can even go in here and put a little dark, that's fine. Okay? This way I have a nice row of trees. This is the scary part. This is the reflection, which we're actually going to use the paint from above and distort it in the water. So I'm going to have to wipe my brush out a little. I should start with the lighter color first. And I'm going to wipe my brush out. I'm not going to wash it. I'm going to just wipe it out here. And starting in the lighter section, I'm going to pull some of this paint down into the water. I'll go to my next color, pull. So I'm pushing pretty hard, and I'm taking some of that paint from up top and putting it right down into the water. Now, I can be really particular and say this tree is taller and make it taller, and this one's a little shorter and can make that shorter. And for this length of time, for this type of show, I can't be that particular. So I just want to show you the lesson so you can hopefully try it and do it on your own. Okay, so have some nice reflection in that water. And I'll just go right across here, maybe cut off my horizon line. All right. What I'd like to do next is I'm going to take my palette knife and I'm going to put some watermarks in the water. So I'm taking my palette knife, moving some paint over, spreading the paint out real thin. And I'm cutting a bead. Well, you may not be able to see that bead. Let me wipe off the knife better. There we go. I'm cutting a bead off, and I'm going to run my knife right across here, and that's going to cut off the tree line from the water, and it is going to make it look like the reflection, like the water rippling. And you can put as many of these or as little as you want. Now, with these, I can concentrate them underneath again, under where we have our lighter color, to try to bring the viewer's eye back into that spot again. So this way, when you're looking at the painting, you look at the overall painting, and then your eye will be drawn into that focal point. And that'll look pretty. And then you can add some here and there. Now, when you add these, you want to make them different lengths. So you don't want to have choppy in a row. You want to make them uneven and different lengths, just like you would see in nature. Okay, I'm putting them straight across, well, as straight as I can. This way, it looks more like a natural reflection in the water. And I went right across where I just painted. Okay, now in that corner, I'd like to put a little grassy knoll there. So I'm going to take my scenery brush again, which is dirty, and that's fine. I'm coming in with some sap, moving it over so you can see better, a little Van Dyke. I'm making a nice green-brown color, a real dark color. And I'm going to push in a landmass over here, some kind of a grassy landmass. And what will happen is, with me putting this here, it will make everything else look behind it. And that's how we add depth to our painting. Okay. So, let me make it a little bit darker. Alrighty, there we go. So we have a little landmass. Now, you could actually just leave this painting just as is, or you could even add a tree. You could add other colors to it. Lots you can do. Okay, so since I have a couple minutes, what I can do is show you how to add a big tree to it. So what I will do is, I'm going to undo my bucket. I'm going to dip a fan brush in a little bit of my thinner to help thin my brush down a little, my paint, sorry. Just going into my browns, whatever I had left on my palette, and I can pull a tree in right on the side. Notice I started to push harder as I got down to the bottom, because, you know, trees are usually wider on the bottom. There we go, put a tree in. Now you can see just by putting that tree in, everything else looks further behind it. Okay, so I'm not going to work on making that darker. I think you got the idea of that. I am going to tap a little here, just so it doesn't look like it's floating on top, okay? And what I will do is we'll add some nice limbs to that tree. Okay, well first, you know what? I'm going to go back to my palette knife. I'm going to come into this light color that we used before, and let's get a little highlight on that tree. Maybe the sun is showing a little on the side. Oh, I think we need a little more paint. See, the paint wasn't coming off there. So I'm just touching the paint on to that tree side, figuring if the light is here. All right. Then I'll take a little fan brush and pull over the end just a little bit. We want to give that tree a little bit of an appearance so it looks kind of round. Now, this is a liner brush, long liner brush. Coming into my brown, I dipped my brush in the thinner, because to use this brush, it needs to be very thin paint. Okay, so I'm just coming into whatever dark paint I have. You can see I'm just rolling it around. And I'll try to just move my palette down here. What I'll do is I'm going to make sure my elbow is up, and this will help my flow better. And I'm holding the brush up, the paint is flowing to the bottom, and I'm wiggling and turning, and just on the edge. I'm not pushing down. If I do push down, I'm going to get a bigger branch, and that looks good too, because then I can come back and do smaller branches off it. So I'm going to come in and I'll put some nice branches in. Now, I might have made that one a little big for that tree, but that's okay. What I'd like to do is I would like to take a branch and aim it right at my focal point. Another way to view, for the viewer, to have their eye pulled into that focal point. And I'll just come in, put a few more branches. And you can see I'm just going right on top of the clouds, making everything look like it's right behind. Okay. And maybe a couple more here and there. And like I said, you can put as many of these as you like. Now, the other thing I can do is I can go back to my bounce brush, and I can, sorry, get some paper towels, and I can bounce on some leaves. I'm just wiping out the brush. I'm not going to spend the time to wash it right now. So, say we want some green leaves maybe. Yeah, I think we'll put some green leaves. I'm taking my brush, again, just a quarter of the top of it. I'm not using the whole brush. And I can come in and hold it with my 2 fingers, and I can bounce and add some leaves. And depending on time, I can come back and I can put a lot of colors on here. So we'll just put some for now as time permits. Right now I'm just bouncing into the sap green, and you can hear it on the canvas bouncing. I'm using the top 2 indentations, and that helps control the brush a little more. If I use the bottom 2 indentations, then it will make it a little bit harder. In other words, the paint, the blotches of paint will be a little wider. If you want little tiny ones, you can use the top. It's a little, you can control it a little bit better, but you should try it with both. This way you can pick the way you like and what's better for your painting. Oh, and you can see I just splattered a little bit. I didn't bounce it, I was pushing it. So I'll just fix that right up by putting some leaves right over there. Okay, putting a little more leaves here. And like I said, this, you can just keep going and going, and I'm just putting them here and there. No rhyme or reason. I'll step back and take a peek and see if I feel like I need more any place, because I'm so up close to it right now. Here, we're gonna really draw the viewer's eye in there. They're gonna see the leaves, and it's just pointing right to that nice light area. So I'm gonna just step back a couple feet here to see. And I think my one branch is a little too long in perspective to the rest of the tree. So what I can do is bring a little more out to try to even that out a little, just so it looks a little more uniform, I guess you can say. See, it's amazing. Couple more branches there, and I think that works a little better. So what I can do now is I can just go tap right into the burnt sienna. And I can tap a little bit of this green, this burnt sienna dark on, and I have to make sure that I'm holding it in the right place. This way the leaves come out the way I like them. There we go. Now, I'm not sure, I might have to wash my brush, but I'm just gonna tap in a little yellow and see if I could just get a little highlight. No, I would have to wash my brush out. For the sake of time, I can't. So what I would do is wash out the brush and come back and put some yellow and put in some highlights, okay? Same thing with the middle of the painting here, where we have the light showing. We can come in with some yellow and even brighten that up a little so that looks a little brighter in the middle. Okay, so I think there we have it today. Simple painting, not too many colors, not too many brushes, and not too much cleaning. So I hope you enjoyed it, and if you'd like to come and take a look at my brush, you can come to www.lucysworldofpainting and take a peek at it. I also have tips for brush cleaning there and lots of other little things you can look at. So thanks for tuning in today, and I hope you come back next time.